interrogated.
Jerry, can we put your PowerPoint on our website so people can refer to Explore? Is it something you can email to me?
Walter was talking about the access to information, what information really belongs to you as a member of the public. And I asked them, that's one. That's one. That's one. That's one. And I asked them what kind of progress they were making because in contrast to the information of the Open Public Meetings Act, you're going to find that we've made tremendous strides in making Board of Education budget information available to the public. The first part of the handout is what is called a user-friendly budget. And it happens to be the budget for the Board of Education in my town. Every Board of Education budget is on this website, and the website is indicated on the very bottom of the handout. So if you were to go on the website, you see a list of every county in the state. Click on the county, and it will list every Board of Education in that county. Click on the Board of Education, you get all the information you want in what I consider to be a much more user-friendly presentation. Now, like Walter, I really enjoy questions. I judge the effectiveness of my presentation by the questions that you ask, and it helps me to know if I'm getting my point across or if I'm not getting my point across. So I encourage you to stop me and ask a question, not now. I'm sorry. Yes.
I'm just wondering, I guess it's varies. There's a couple of different budgets here because it looks like this one budget is the Board of Ed budget.
It's all one budget.
Why does the Board of Ed have like different account numbers than this one? How come they all have like the same account number?
The only answer to that is that they fall under a different jurisdiction. The boards of ed are governed by the rules of the Department of Education. Municipal governments, I think it's the Division of Local Government Affairs or the Division of Community Affairs. And what you'll find is that it would be difficult for you to kind of do a comparative analysis because there are many activities that take place in the Board of Education that don't take place in a municipality and vice versa. Does that answer your question?
There's also probably a lot of similarities.
I didn't say there weren't. I didn't say there weren't. But
all right, different jurisdictions, different line items. I guess.
Yeah. And I don't know how meaningful it would be for you to be able to crosswalk one to the other. I don't know.
Okay, well, I'm from Garwood. I analyzed the UE budget. I come up with dozens of questions. I analyzed the Board of Ed. Dozens of questions. To me, I mean, just looking for indicators, red flag items would be nice to have, like common line items, common breakdown.
Well, here's a suggestion. If you're doing a comparison like that, why don't you consider comparing apples to apples and take your municipal budget and compare it to other such municipal budgets so you can identify the percent of the expenditure that's delegated to one particular activity. And that would, I think that would be a better indicator for you of what you call red flag items, I think.
I wasn't really.
That's enough. Okay, that's enough time. questions, please, please do that. Let me tell you my genesis. In 1983, the state of New Jersey, believe that, Jersey, reached out to me. I was working in New York at the time, and they said, we want you to apply for a position. I said, what position? We would like you to apply for a position that's vacant in East Orange. Now, I'm from New York. East Orange, I knew, was a big city. So I agreed to come for the interview, and now I think like there are 500 people interviewing for this position. So I'm snazzy, and I prepare for the interview, and I do all that, and I get the job, only to find out that I was the only candidate who applied. Then I find out that the reason why nobody else applied, because in 1983, Board of Education had a $44 million budget with a $10 million deficit. And so my job was to resolve the deficit. I learned more about budgeting and financial operations in a short period of time. So that's how I come to have the chutzpah to stand in front of you and talk about municipal budgets. What I want to say, what I want to tell you is that most, yes sir?
It's a little bit of your background before you took that job. What were you doing?
I was working in the state of New York, and I did kind of the same thing. I wanted to be a turnaround expert in the public sector, because there are plenty of turnaround experts in the private sector that will take a company and turn it around. And I just thought that there would be an opportunity in the public sector. So I worked in 3 districts in New York State. Roosevelt, Long Island, Hempstead, Long Island, and Mineola, Long Island. And each one of them had financial difficulties. And I was lucky enough to be able to resolve them. Yes? Did you have a question? Oh, everybody here goes to the grocery store. You go grocery shopping. You get a bill. You check that bill. You make sure that you pay for what you bought. You bought what you're paying for. And if there's an issue or a problem, you try and get it resolved right then and there. What is that bill? $150? $200? $250? You spend more time looking at your grocery bill than you do looking at your Board of Education budget or your municipal budget. Either one of those budgets is going to cost you thousands of dollars. So why don't you do that? Why don't you spend as much time or more time looking at your board budget or your town budget, county budget, state budget? Why don't you do that? Well, okay, it's big. They're difficult to read. I got to be a CPA. I don't have an accounting background. You can go on and on and on and on. Now I'm going to use this this board up here to help illustrate my points, because I don't have that PowerPoint. But I'm going to give you an equation. It's pretty simple equation. That's true of every budget that you look at in the state of New Jersey. By law, those budgets have to be equal the money that's going out. Now, I'll digress for a minute and give you a little pet peeve of mine. That's not the right word. If anybody here has an accounting background, I mean, my accounting courses are 40 years old. A revenue is something you go out and work for and earn. You expend either intellectual capital or physical labor. You get that money, that's a revenue. Taxes are not revenue. Taxes are a form of legalized confiscation. They come, they take your money, they tell you how much they're going to take. You don't have a choice, and if you don't pay that money, they take your property. Not bad. Yes, Walter.
Speaking of taxes, especially from a school's perspective, when a school is creating its budget, how can it be certain of what its revenue or taxes are? Because there's going to be delinquencies, there's going to be changes, there's going to be uncollectibles. How do they know that the right side of the equation is going to be what they say it is?
Because they're held harmless. Because any of those defects fall on the municipal side.
So a school budget comes up with the CFO comes up with a number. And what's the basis for the number?
Well, that's the trick of the trade. That's the black magic in the budget process. So why don't we get right to that and try and answer Walter's question?
Because we know that the board is going to turn around and look to the municipality for money, and where's the municipality look for money?
Municipality looks to the state and to the local taxpayer. Every government budget is built the same way. Everyone that I've ever been involved, everyone that I've ever seen. This gentleman was asking about line items before. That's what you're going to see in every budget. You're going to see line items. You're going to see numbers next to those line items. Those numbers all total up to the total expenditure budget. So let's say it's $50 million. The next step in the budget process is to figure out how we're going to support that spending level. Well, school districts get state aid.
Jerry, do they do what you just did, which is figure out how much they're going to spend first and figure out where to find the money?
That's exactly
Because that's
right.
not how I live.
That's exactly right. Wouldn't you like to live? Look, what I always say, why should the government live within its means when they can live within your means? And that's what they do. So they get state aid, they get some local sources. Miscellaneous revenue. Maybe some federal funds, Title I funds, et cetera, et cetera. And let's say that these all add up to $5 million. This is what they're going to spend. This is what they have so far. And this is the black magic. They're going to raise $45 million in taxes, and that's what you're going to pay.
What about the cap now?
That's another interesting question. And it's a good one. The cap is 2%. So in any given year, well, first of all, I think any power that the cap originally had to election to November, you don't vote on the school budget, you don't vote on the municipal budget, you don't vote on the county budget, you don't vote on the state budget. Now, I don't know where you come from. Where I come from, that's called taxation without representation. Yes? No? Come on, I'm trying to turn everybody here into radicals.
Jerry, what does it mean when something's outside the cap? I hear about inside the cap, under the cap, outside the cap.
There are some legitimate costs and expenses that would fall outside of the cap. The rationale being that the increase in those expenses is uncontrollable, and if those expenses were to be absorbed inside of the cap, it might have a detrimental impact on the educational program. One of the big ones happens to be the average health insurance premium in the public sector from one year to the next has gone up about 15%. Some have gone up more, some have gone up less. So if you take a health insurance premium that goes up by 15%, you figure that into a budget, you got a cap of 2%, you have a problem. So you would have to, what you would have to do is find a way to absorb that in your expenditure budget. They don't do that. Did that answer your question?
Sort of.
So,
What about there are other things besides health insurance? Like I noticed with Union County, they do a lot of bonding for stuff. They're allowed to go
That's a separate.
into debt.
That's a separate account and a separate fund. And there's a legal distinction because those funds are set aside to service bonds that were issued for capital projects. Okay, so that.
So what I mean, they can keep spending money outside of the cap. They can keep creating huge buildings and fine trucks to
Well,
drive home. That's outside.
At least in times past, any and all capital expenditures had to be placed on a referendum and approved by the taxpayers. So if a municipality or a board of education was going to construct a new school building, they couldn't do it on their own. They don't have that authority. That has had to be approved by a public referendum and a public vote.
That doesn't apply to county.
Oh, no?
No.
Oh.
See all the beautiful buildings we have in Union County?
Is the school budget cap part still subject to?
Not once the initial bond referendum has been approved.
Okay, so bond referendum for schools are still has to be public.
As far as I know, they have to be voted on in public and approved by the public. And they function just like a mortgage. So the money set aside, the Board of Education, let's take the example of the school building. It's going to cost $25 million because they need to have a revolving electronic library, they need to have a swimming pool, and they have to have a special sauna for the staff members who are getting older and older so they can ease their arthritis. So you got $25 million. The referendum is approved. Now the next step is for the Board of Education to contract to issue bonds. You've heard of municipal bonds? That's what they issue. And in order to do that, they have to have an investment banker and they have to have a bond counsel. So we've got the $25 million. Bonds are normally issued for a 30-year term. And just like your mortgage, your bond payment consists of principal and interest. But there is a binding obligation, at least that's my understanding, a binding obligation on the part of the Board of Education
expenditures part and the taxes part, also known as revenue, those are both estimations made at the beginning of the fiscal year by the public agency.
Are the estimations, yes, they are.
Now, what if an estimation is too high or too low? What
Well, if the estimation is too high, then in all likelihood, they've overtaxed the taxpayers in that taxing jurisdiction. If it's too low, there are such things known as supplemental tax levies. So they can't lose. This is better than Las Vegas. It absolutely is.
So let's say they pass a budget. Let's say the school board passes a $100 million budget, and then they negotiate a contract that causes their budget, that's $1 million higher than they anticipate. They can just change their budget on the fly.
They have the ability to do that. They would go to the governing body, town council. I'm not saying the town council is thrilled to do this, but they would go to the governing body and say, ladies and gentlemen, we underestimated our budget appropriation by $3 million. We need to have you issue a supplemental tax levy to raise that money to make us whole.
I don't know.
But typically, they build fat into the budgets. They build about a 10% budget factor into the budget.
Wow.
I don't know if I'm jumping to the end of this seminar, but the big question is, there's no store manager to say, hey, listen, you charge me $1 instead of 50 cents for this corn. So we see this line item, we say, well, you spent $130,000 on the website. Like, there's no store manager. What do you do about the knowledge that we have now? I mean, that's,
It's a good question. It really is the focus of the presentation. I've listed some questions that you should be in a position to ask. And the only answer, Joe, to your question is you have to get involved. You can't sit back and trust these folks. They're dealing with your money, and it's a lot of money. I did a little research. When was the last time anybody in this room can remember their property taxes going down instead of going up? 1940. Okay.
mine was 2 years ago.
Wow.
It went down $50.
What town are you in?
Yeah, we'd all like to move to your town.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen because they have the power to tax. So what you need to do is you need to go to the budget hearings. Public bodies are required to hold public hearings on the budget. And my gripe about how municipal and government budgets are put together is they don't ask the question. Here is one significant issue. Let's take the guidance department in the high school. I don't know how many of you have had any experience with your children going to the guidance department in a high school, but I can tell you that they are almost universally despised. Does it make any difference? Hey, we spent $1.2 million last year. Nobody asks the question, what did we get for it? Was it worth it? Where did our kids go to school? How successful was it? Did it work well? Is it worth $1.2 million? No, they say last year we spent $1.2 million. They deserve a raise. We have to build that in. Otherwise, why would they work here? So we're going to spend $1.4 million this year. That's how the budgets are done. It's not how you do your household budget. Not at all. Now, if you live comment, and that's mine. So I don't know if yours is the same or not. But let's say that gets wiped out. There's a layoff, there's a reduction in force, whatever the case may be. What do? You adjust your budget to live within the 80,000. You have no choice. You have no choice. Not so the government. Because the government can say, we're just going to increase taxes by $30,000 and you're all going to pay it. Simple and easy. Every budget, every year. That's why you have to go to the meetings. That's why you have to be present. That's why you have to ask questions. That's why you cannot sit back, be complacent, and take it for granted that your elected public officials are acting in your best interests. Yes, ma'am.
Well, I'm active in going to the budgets in town, and I used to go to the budgets at the Board of Ed for years. I literally sit there writing pages of notes. A couple years ago, I wrote notes and started asking questions regarding the budget, and the mayor says to me, "Where did you get this information?" That's the answers that you get. So they can't even come up with why they do what they do, even though they present it to you right in front of you. So it's,
Jerry, in the county, the public doesn't have the opportunity to speak as a budget. You can't ask a question, you can't comment. You can be present, all you can do is watch.
that's a public meeting. You shouldn't have to.
They
They don't have to allow you
They don't have
to
to.
talk.
It's always be here to let
You only have that right in school boards and towns, not anywhere else.
To answer your question, you have to be persistent. You cannot afford not to be persistent. This is costing all of us a fortune, and this is where it starts. Forget about the state of New Jersey. Forget about them for the time being. Forget about the county for the time being. Because your county tax bill is not nearly as high as your Board of Education tax bill. So, what are the questions to ask? Well, ladies and gentlemen, how did you arrive at the fact that you're going to, with the estimation that you're going to spend $50 million? And what are we going to get for it? What kind of deliberation went into constructing all those line items in the budget? And has anyone done any kind of an evaluation on whether or not the guidance department is worth it? Maybe what we should do is wipe out the guidance department, save 1.4 million, take 300,000, hire outside people to come in and do a better job. they'll set the tax levy at whatever rate they set it at. In November, the tax levy to support your budget, whatever it is going to be certified to the Board of Tax Commissioners. It'll be certified, entered in the county records, sent to your tax collector, your local tax collector, who's going to break down that amount according to your assessed valuation. That's going to be your tax bill.
My understanding is that the Board of Education can go up to 2% cap. If they go over, they have to put it on the budget, the elections in November.
On the ballot?
Right, but the thing is that they have to have their budget done by April, it's approved by the state by April, and their fiscal year starts in July. So, I mean, it makes no sense. I'm so against this November election, we can't even imagine, because my town is so broke. They're gonna push everybody they want into that one bed. But the budget will stay under cap as far as I understand it, so as long as it's under cap or within.
But that's not my point. I mean, we're allowing the budget to increase 2%. That's $1 million, right? What's the justification for that? You have a collective bargaining unit agreement that guarantees your teachers a raise every year just for showing up. Just for showing up. It's immaterial whether they do a good job or not. It's immaterial whether you're satisfied. That's a contractual obligation that we have, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sorry, there's nothing we can do about it. That's wrong. That's wrong. There has been a push recently, which is a very interesting development, to put to hold contract negotiations in the public. That will be very interesting. That will be the highest rated TV program since Monday Night Wrestling.
I guess going back to probably stepping backwards, I don't know how many people really go to budget sessions and get a hold of the public forums, read obviously, but what they actually have is the year before and then the present year numbers, and that's where everybody can easily just get a hold of the budget and can simply ask a question that anything that goes up like 3% to 5%, just say, what's this increase for? Or go down to another line and say, what's this increase for? That would probably at least get you warmed up into analyzing budget.
Well, I think the important thing is, the most important thing is, one, that you show up. I have been at meetings when I was working in this business, and let's say that the room was packed. Board members would say, what's going on? What are they going to do? What are they going to do to us? What's going on? So you have an impact. You vote for these people. And my suggestion is this. You talk about not having any input on the county budget. This is what I've seen happen. The Board of Education is here. The municipality is here. And then the county is here. And then
Open Space Trust Fund.
and then it might be the state. So what do people do? This is politics now. Well, I'm going to run for the board. I'm not going to stay there. I'm going to use the board. Walter, was that a young?
Absolutely not.
Okay. I'm going to use the board as a stepping stone to become a member of town council. I don't want to stay there. I want to move from that to become a freeholder. I don't want to stay there. I want to move from that to become an assemblyman or a state senator. My point is, if you control this at the grassroots, you begin to make an impact on the others. No?
Unity County.
I don't believe that is indicative of the way the political system works.
Oh, well, then
If you're not a paying member of a political party in power, you're not going anywhere. I don't care how many votes you got.
I say the board has 7 members. That probably means that you're going to have 3 members up in 1 year, 2 the next, and 2 the following year because they do it on a rotating basis. That's where you have to make your impact. That's where you have to start. That's what you have to do. There's no alternative unless you want to sit back and have your pocket picked every year, year after year after year after year. And they don't sit down and say, gee, how can we save the taxpayer money? How can we do that? We have, how many school districts in Union County? Anybody know?
21.
Okay, we got 21. They don't sit around and try and figure out, gee, we have transportation all over the county. Every district contracts for it. Do you think that we could save any money if we did transportation on a countywide basis and we staggered the opening and closing times of all the different schools so we could use one bus contract instead of 21? Do you think that comes up? No, it doesn't. You have to force the issue. I'm telling you do.
We have home rule. People in Cranford wouldn't want their children on a bus with, say, people from Roselle.
They're not
Things like
gonna be.
that.
They're not gonna be.
They will be on their own bus.
They're not gonna be.
Home rule does come into play though a lot of that.
Yes, it does.
Just dropped off.
Our county also has a magnet school. We pay for an entire county magnet system, high school, we put kids in high school.
Our towns pay the county to keep those kids in that space. So they get money from the towns and the county.
So I guess you could say we have 22 school districts. We have a county too.
And you have added districts in that
But
the
there
whole
is-
state pays for them.
But there is no, it doesn't, my point is that the only reason you have different routes and you have, you're going to bid 21 separate bus contracts. You don't have to. You don't have to bid 21 separate garbage contracts. You don't have to. You can begin to force the reasonable consolidation of services without affecting the curriculum, quality of instruction, or the quality of education at all. And the only way to start it is to start here. Sponsor someone to run for the Board of Education. Typically, the vote turnout,
3 times.
She ran 3 times.
we have a volunteer.
She runs
did
in
already.
already.
My husband lost his job because I ran. It's a very corrupt town.
Is this Bradford?
difference does it make? You're gonna get brown and gooey, and it's gonna smell. So I'm telling you right now, if we don't take a stand, we don't get involved, and we don't question, and it's difficult to do it when you go by yourself. It's a very difficult thing to do because it's an intimidating atmosphere. Somewhere I heard a rumor, I don't know how true it is, that a young lady who's going to remain nameless for purposes of redaction was told that she was not to ask this question of this public body ever again, or she would be removed from the meeting. So she saw fit to ask that question, and true to their word, she was removed from the public meeting. But after that occurred, 15 of her closest friends stood up and asked the same question. That's what you have to do. You cannot take this line. This is your money. This is your government. This is your budget. This is your life.
The question never got answered, though.
What?
The question never got answered. The question was to a freeholder, how many family members do you have on the county payroll? And he never answered, despite Bruce Patterson also sitting down and getting the ACLU involved and having them apologize.
Now, I maintained your
But they
privacy.
never-
I did not.
I'm embarrassed.
Besides all that hoopla, they never answered the question. I think everyone in this room that has tried to get a difficult governing body to answer questions, just residents, that's the frustration.
Well, all I can say-
You can ask, but they don't have to answer.
All I can say is that in my county, there is an anti-nepotism policy. No relatives. If you have a member serving on the freeholder board, member of your family, you don't get a county job, period.
See, the Board of
County is that.
Education legally has to abide by that. They have a policy that they mandated. I have a copy of it, to see the list of who they cannot hire while they are on that Board of Education. And they should be, they just did it 2 years ago, I think. And that's what should be across the board in every government agency.
I agree, but how does it get there? Do you think they're gonna do it voluntarily? Or do you think they're gonna do it if you've got an auditorium packed full of people who will not leave until they adopt that policy?
But I live in a town of 56,000 people, there's 20,000 residencies. You know who shows up? Me and a couple of other people. So,
I know, and that's why I'm saying,
And it's
that's why,
there's no way to fight within that office. It's so gerrymandered.
that's,
County government is district. It's not districted, so they just win countywide elections.
that's why I'm saying you have to go, you have to get a group of concerned citizens who have to understand how this is not government of the people, by the people, for the people, ladies and gentlemen. This is government of the few, by the few, for the few. And I'm here to tell you that Abraham Lincoln is rolling over in his grave. Sir, you had a question?
Yes, Mrs. Brennan was just asking about, and I know many times that you was up on the freeholder board and asked them, how many relatives you got working on the board? And Merv Belly would say, oh, you know, and then Sullivan would say, shut up, because we have some people up there that ain't too educated, but they continuously harass her, try to intimidate her, but it don't work, but they should have, and they should answer the public how many people they got working on the payroll in the county. They should be forced to answer that question.
I couldn't agree with you more. But how do you do that? They're not going to do it voluntarily. The only way
Get
you're going to
100
do it,
people up there, you might get a different answer.
if you had 10 or 15 or 20 people around you asking the same question,
You know the problem
that
is,
might
Ray?
produce a result. And the other point I'll make is you vote for these folks.
The problem today's problem is people don't want to go up to a freeholder meeting or a county meeting and say anything at all because it might be ridiculed or intimidated. You don't let them people intimidate you because they ain't got the quality to do it. You understand? But if you have 100 people, put an ad or something, get people involved, and you won't have that, what you have up there, BOE County, what's going on?
Well, how do you
Dog control.
How do you get people involved?
Huh?
How do you get them involved? I'm trying to get all of you involved tonight. How do you do that? I'm here.
Let me ask you something.
Sure.
At the end of the year, everybody gets their tax thing back, right? And they say, oh, they go bananas, right? They go deep, but they won't say it down the street, right? Because they're hooked up with them cockroaches up there, right? And they won't say nothing against them because they'll lose their job.
Well, can I say something?
Yes, ma'am.
I guess I'm losing my mind because I'm actually defending, Board of Ed in Montclair. I'd say our town defies most of what everyone's saying here. And it's Faulkner Town. It's not a voted board of elections. It's appointed by the mayor. This year there's a $10 million surplus with the Board of Ed because they had citizen groups working on the budget for months before the budget was done.
That was the word, the
And
citizen groups.
$10 million. Don't you people being afraid to talk at a council meeting? We have people screaming at our council. The chamber's packed. It's the exact opposite. They're not afraid to say anything.
I think they should all wear bulletproof vests, to be quite honest with you.
And we have 7 people up for re-election. 3 of them already have money because they know they're not going to get re-elected because people are dissatisfied. So I don't, I'm just glad I don't live in Union County.
She's very glad.
Okay, I'd like to get back to, I know that everybody would like to talk about this other stuff, this was supposed to be about budget. One of the problems I've always had with this, advertised it, just ask the simple question, how many kids would walk through the door on any given day if they were all attended? Can you answer that on this tape that you have here? You have to do some kind of combination of lines, add up things, subtract things. It's not obvious how many kids would actually walk through the door on any given day.
It's your total involvement.
Well, there's nothing that says total enrollment here. It says pupils on hold, regular pupils on hold, and all these categories. They do not ever want to show any sort of total and how it relates to the individual line items.
If you see the column labeled October 15, 2011, albeit that's an estimate, if you add up those numbers, that's the answer to your question.
What about people sent to other districts? They don't go up through the door to them. I want to know on any good day how many kids go up through the door.
If you send someone to another district, if it's a special ed youngster or something like that, the sending district, the home district, the district of residence is responsible.
But they're not in the building.
So whether they're in the building or not, for purposes of enrollment, they're counted in that district.
So you're saying just add up all the numbers here. What about people that are shared time? Is that counted as a half?
Yes.
Why is that important to you?
Because I have an objection to the presentations that it does not answer the question, how many kids are they actually going to have, are actually going to come into the school on that day? There's no way to tell from this chart what the answer to that question is unless you kind of know how to combine this stuff. Okay, because that influences how many textbooks they have to buy. So,
Well, the
you're not
major,
buying textbooks for kids that are out of district.
the major influence is that the amount of state aid that you receive is dependent on your enrollment.
That's the overall. And he's concerned about the daily enrollment, whether that, I mean, you got an enrollment of 10,000 kids, but on any given day, it's 8,000.
Who can say? Who can say? The response, my response to that would be, on any given day, our average attendance is 92% of total enrollment. And that's the best I can do.
No, I'm asking about how many
gives you a seat at the table. That gives you the right to ask a question. That gives you the knowledge of everything that goes in.
I know in Cranford, because I know a person who was on such a board, and anything that they wanted to work on, they had to start on. Wouldn't let them do it, and it would eventually say,
Well, but then you have to elect town officials that are friendly
well,
to
why
your,
not
to your
publicize what's going on in Montclair?
because
if it's a success story,
it doesn't
it
just
works.
go on because
But then you'll get-
publicizing what goes on in Montclair is not going to influence the Board of Education in Union City,
Will it
in
influence the
Elizabeth,
citizens?
in Newark, in East
Will it
Orange.
influence the citizens though? If you want to get the citizens out and you want to get people involved, why don't you, so it works here, it can work in your.
I agree with that.
It's money in your pocket.
I agree with that.
So why don't we advocate something like that?
Sorry, yes. You were waiting to ask a question for quite a while, weren't you?
Yes.
So it's going to be a good one, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Right, visually. On the budget category, as the school board or whatever governing body, as they overspend, I would call it, more than what they estimated as their budget for the expense, are there opportunities to question, oh, why are you over budget on this category now, and what can you do to prevent them from becoming over budget as the year goes through?
What you'll see and what ought to be available to the public at every Board of Education meeting is a report that will give you exactly that information.
Bill's list is how much?
No, it's not the bills list. It's called, no, it's not the transfers. It's called the Secretary's Report, Board Secretary's Report. It's also referred to as the A148. It gives a condensation and a summary of the line items, the appropriations, the encumbrances, and the expenditures to date, and then it gives you an indication whether that particular line item has been overexpended or underexpended. So I'm flabbergasted to hear some of your questions because in East Orange, we made everything possible available to the public. They had a copy of the budget. They could request a copy of the detailed line item budget. If they wanted a listing of the budget to actually provide that, and it appears every district and every board operates differently. So a lot of the questions that you're raising here kind of shock me because we did all that.
Because in the follow-up, when I go to the Board of Education, they vote on things and they show what it is and what the new cost will be, but there's no continual line item to say, to date, this will be the amount of money spent in this line item. This brings this budget to.
There isn't what's called the Board Secretary's Report. It's also called the A148. It's public information.
Is that 148 on Apple or 148 Ojo?
It's the A148. A as in
140.
A as in apple.
Oh.
148. Yes, sir.
A 148.
A as in apple. 148. 148.
8. Ojo. Number 8.
Yes,
Is
ma'am.
that the most useful
148.
report to get each month?
Pardon me?
Is that the best report to get each month?
Is that monthly?
If so,
That's a report that is prescribed by law. You can get any report that you ask for. Anything that happens with public money is public information, in my opinion. So if you want to see a list of the bills, you can see a list of the bills. If you want to see a list of the expenditures year to date, you should be able to see that too. As a matter of fact, I think all that stuff should be online and available to everybody.
Look, our
They need
board
to
operates as
update
much
this every
secrecy as they can. They don't want you to know anything.
Upon request.
Tell you anything.
Absolutely.
Everything is upon request.
Yes,
Is
sir.
this required to look into monthly?
I beg your pardon? Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I didn't, he asked the question that A148, that's a monthly report?
That's a monthly report.
Oh, okay, so you can actually ask it monthly, maybe in the middle of the month you get,
You can ask for all the A148s that have been submitted to the Board of Education since July 1st.
And I just have another question about Yeah, the fund balance is like I guess the breakage and the non-expenditures moving forward. Is that compiled in this A-148?
No, it's not.
Okay, but is there some kind of rolling total of?
You'll find the year-end closing fund balance.
That would be considered surplus, I guess, at that point.
Well, they're not identical. They're related, but they're not identical. If the board appropriates 50 million and they expend 49, they have an operating surplus of 1 million. That is in addition to fund balance. So they may have had a fund balance as of the prior year of $200,000. If that's the case, the two of them are put together, and now you have a fund balance of 1.2 million.
So should that money be returned to the taxpayers?
Yeah, the next budget.
Well, I mean, that was my concern with the $10 million surplus in Montclair, because apparently the tax levy and the tax rate was set far too high.
What percentage do they can they keep?
Well, here's something else that you have to understand. We put a budget together. That budget is certified in May. Goes into operation July 1st. It's impossible for me to anticipate or estimate or predict everything that's going to take place that year. All I can do is the best I can do. So, for example, let's say in November, in one of the elementary schools, the boiler goes bad and I can't heat the building. Do I come out and say, ladies and gentlemen, we're not going to provide heat for the rest of the winter? I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. I will replace that boiler, unanticipated and unbudgeted. So if I have positive fund balance, I go to the Board of Education and say, look, we had to spend $150,000 for a new boiler. I am going to present to you a resolution to appropriate $150,000 of this $1 million fund balance into the budget to cover the unanticipated expenditure.
Can you appropriate that money to next year's budget?
Yes, you can.
So theoretically, you'd be reducing the.
Absolutely. Absolutely, and you should really keep an eye on the fund balance.
Yeah, like what was unique about this winter?
How come
What
the
does that
education
mean?
budget goes up every year?
Okay, they weren't spreading salt, they weren't spending money on overtime, they weren't shoveling snow, they weren't doing all that stuff, except for like the one big, Halloween storm. It was very little, so theoretically, all the barns should be full of salt, they shouldn't have to buy any salt and grit, and their overtime budget should be full. So when you go back, and heating expenses really shouldn't be as high as they were either, because it was very warm. It was one of the warmest winters in a very long time. So folks should, both municipal and boards of ed, frankly everyone, should have a lot of extra money in their budget. That now what they're going to do is they're going to use it now. It's like, oh, it's extra money, so let's use it now. So then, you're still getting taxed to say no. What they should do, in my opinion, is appropriate it to next year's budget, so you're not paying for it again. And that's what you have to advocate for. Go to your next meeting and say, we all know it was a very light winter this year. So what did that mean for your overtime budget? Did you budget more for overtime than was actually spent? Did you use less salt and grit than you thought you would?
Ladies and gentlemen, just as
and that's stuff you got to look for.
Just as a point of order and kind of an object lesson, did I horn in on his presentation at all? I sat there and I was quiet and respectful.
That's how you know I'm right.
No, your point is well taken. You have to carry a certain amount of money in surplus or in fund balance for a contingency. But $10 million to me
letters at the end of your name to interpret them. However, I encourage all of you to get the audit reports, because at the very end of these audit reports is a list of, and of course I can't remember what they're called. So a list of recommendations, and that's a nice way of saying ways in which the entity that we're auditing is violating the law and that they should fix. And so what you do is you go to the 2008 audit, and you go to like the very last page, you go to the recommendations, you may see something like township provides clothing allowance to police without reporting the income on a W-2. And that's another way of saying tax evasion. It makes it's tax evasion if it's intentional, but you are supposed to report all income. I mean, I've seen this. They could also say, Parks Department does not maintain appropriate ledger system for cash accounts.
Whether or not it's reported on the W-2, it still remains the individual police officer's responsibility in the eyes of the IRS to report.
So what you want to do is you want to look at the next year's report, because what the auditors do is the auditors look at last year's report and they check to see if things were fixed or not. And if they were fixed, it'll say that. If they weren't fixed, it'll say that too, because it's the auditor's license that's on the line. The auditor has a very strong incentive to say whether or not the stuff was fixed. And so if it's not fixed, you see the same thing going wrong year after year, well, bring it up. Maybe someone's not doing their job.
Just repeat the sentence.
Who audits the auditor?
Well, that's its own set of problems, because you have the same auditor year after year. They should, they should change them out. I mean, in my opinion,
And that box is
every 4 years. But I think Boxer says like 5 to 10.
The issue with the
But they still do, like, if you Oprah them, they still identify stuff like does not maintain appropriate cash accounts. That means they could be skimming off the top and no one would know.
Somebody got the hook, please. The problem with the auditor is, as soon as the auditor is appointed, there is an inherent conflict of interest, because the auditor is paid by the Board of Education. So, he who pays the piper calls the tune.
year after year, so there's no reason to upset the government body if they're not, you want to get that client.
There have been movements to set aside a pool of public funds, not specific to any individual governing body nor under their control, to pay the auditors to limit and or avoid that potential conflict of interest. When I say conflict, I mean Walter's right. CPA carries a license in the state of New Jersey. That license can be revoked.
How? If you're looking at your order and you're saying year after year, just telling them the same thing, but nothing's getting done about it, what does a citizen do?
That's
Who do
not the
you report that
auditor's
to?
responsibility. That happens to be the chief administrator and the chief financial officer.
And who do you report them to?
Well, here's to the head of the DCA. Here's what happens with the audits. The audits get sent to the DCA, they get sent to headquarters, where they're not read and they're filed. So if you get an audit that has all these problems, then you call up DCA and you say, here's a copy of the audit, do something about it. Because we did in Denelling, the auditor said that the parking authority didn't maintain proper cash receipts and cash accounting system. Parking authority, so like all the the meters and all that stuff. Now that was fixed, but John Powell went to whoever is the head of the DCA and said, look, are you aware of this? No. We make sure that the audits are done and get them, but we don't beat them. So John said, well, look, you need to do something about this, and he did. He wrote him a letter, and as it turns out, the problem was fixed. But that's your recourse. The problem is no one is reading these. I understand that there's an objection to the inherent conflict of interest. And I understand there's a frustration at the orders, it's the same orders year after year. But I do read plenty of audits where they identify problems, and if the towns don't fix them, no one at headquarters will. So it really is up to you.
I know something about this. This is just the advertised thing. This has to appear in the newspaper, but the entire budget. So
invited this guy. Yes, sir.
That's one question.
You just said, did you say appropriate the fund balance to reduce the tax levy?
Yes.
They would have to appropriate it to next year. Can a board reduce the tax levy this year?
No.
It skips over.
Right, because
Once it's actually-
they just say, we need a number.
Once it is set, but I'm talking about the proposed budget. If the prior year ends with a significant fund balance, then they can be told to appropriate a portion of that fund balance into the budget. Because I don't believe that the tax rate is firm until the end of the year.
Could they also be asked to be appropriated to, say, settle or lessen the debt that's done for some of the capital projects, say, for the school?
They can, but they wouldn't. They can, but they wouldn't, because the debt is a fixed number. It's already been approved by the voters. You're better off getting a reduction in tax levy, because that's what more directly affects your pocketbook. Yes, sir.
Are encumbrances projected costs, or are they fixed and known costs?
They're pretty firm estimates. So, for example, if I know that I have a payroll of $1 million, and that's over a 10-month period, and I'm going to be expending $100,000 a month, I will put an encumbrance against the appropriation for $1 million that will show a zero balance outstanding. And then every month that I issue a payroll and post the payroll to the general ledger, I reduce the encumbrance by $100,000. I increase the expended by $100,000.
I normally see encumbrances right at the year end.
No, encumbrances occur all through the year.
All right, but I never see any reports or anything about that.
It's in the board, so it's in the A148.
Other than A148. All right, but at year end, you know, when they close the books for that budget year, I mean, there's always encumbrances, I notice. Now, those are fixed costs, or are they projected as to what they had spent?
Encumbrances are always estimates. They can't be perfect, because in some cases, maybe you'll issue a purchase order for $1,000. And when the vendor submits the invoice, it comes in for $1,025. So you adjust the encumbrance upward to meet the cost of the invoice. On the other hand, let's say it comes in for $950, you adjust the encumbrance appropriately to reflect that you have an additional $50 in that line item.
How can you, this is the A148, but how can you track the encumbrances past the year end, budget year end, into the next budget? How do you track those encumbrances?
It's in the audit report. It's in the audit report. The auditor has to record, identify, and delineate each and every encumbrance outstanding. Okay, because what happens is you don't want to carry a liability that you incurred this year and wind up having to pay it next year.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
You had said in the beginning of your presentation, one of the reasons that you took the job in East Orange was because you thought you could make an impact. Okay, and I think the way you described what happened in East Orange, you did.
Correct. Not by myself, but I didn't have to worry about politics. I didn't have to worry about the city politics. That too is an appointed board by the mayor. So I was able to bring qualified people in to help me out. I'll tell you a scary story. East Orange is an avid district, as I'm sure most of you know, and I had to make up $10 million. So one of the first things I did was I took my master payroll. These were of Education had been paying health insurance premiums for people that were dead and buried. Dead and buried. My health insurance premium was $400,000 a month. I took a 9-month credit with New Jersey Blue Cross Blue Shield. I called them up and I said, gentlemen, I'm just alerting you to the fact that I've identified this and I'm going to take a 9-month credit on your billing. He said, what are you talking to? And I said, you have erroneously billed the Board of Education in excess of $3.6 million, and all I can do is recover $400,000 a month. That's 9 months. So you're going to provide benefits, and I'm not going to pay your bill for 9 months. I didn't have the records. I didn't have the records. My payroll account hadn't been reconciled for 8 years. 8 years.
If I could just continue on with this, obviously what you're doing here this evening is taking up your own time, as are many of you that are.
No. What I'm doing here this evening, I don't know how many of you remember Students for a Democratic Society and all that. I am attempting to turn you into underground radicals. I will be at all of your meetings, and I will be taking notes. I will be taking names.
We'll be burning the Roxy building.
You've been a phenomenal audience, and it has been really my honor to have had the chance to talk with you. And before I forget, I really want to thank Tina. I owe her, a significant debt of gratitude for having this, organizing it, and for inviting me.
Tell us about the New Jersey Taxpayers Association. You haven't spoken about your organization, how people can get more information about you.
We have a website. The Taxpayers Association is very much aligned with the principles and the philosophy of the New Jersey FOB. Is that what it is?
Yes, New Jersey
Yes.
Foundation for Open Government.
Okay, and we have, as a matter of fact, Walter is a member of our Board of Trustees, so there's been some cross-pollination because we have a lot of common goals and a lot of common objectives. Taxpayers Association is trying to get these issues that we're discussing here tonight in front of people and in front of as many people as we can. We believe that you have to be involved. We will support you. If you would like us to come to one of your meetings, we'll be happy to do that. If you want to call me and ask me any questions, if you want to email me and ask me any questions. This is a major